Hi everyone, my name is Anne. Thanks for joining me today on Art on the Creek. We're here in my home studio in Parker, Colorado, and we are in the middle of the Great Colored Pencil experiment. I've always wanted a set of Polychromos by Faber Castell, and I've used Prismacolor forever. I'm happy with those, but the crumbs are starting to kind of drive me nuts. So I want to try a different brand and see if it'll perform better for me. This is such a subjective, tactile experience that I wanted to share it with you here on YouTube so that maybe if you're going through some of the same frustrations, the same joys that I am, maybe this will help you make a more informed decision with your art budget money. Yesterday, we took a look at the Caran Pablos. Today, we're going to take a look at their sisters, the Luminance. This isn't a review. I know that both of these are well-renowned and everyone really kind of loves them, but they're different. So why would you want one over the other? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's take a look at the Luminance and see where we stand. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, if you didn't see the previous video, I just wanted to let you know why, again, that I'm doing this. The decision as to which colored pencil you're going to get is very tactile. It all really goes down to feel, and it's a very subjective decision. So in the description below there, I will put a link to this line drawing from Pixabay as well as this light box. I wanted to eliminate as many variables as I possibly could, and by tracing this little drawing, then I wouldn't have to worry about any changes in the way I drew it. I'm using the dAche hot press paper, and I really love it for colored pencil. It's just got exactly the right amount of tooth that I love, and this is kind of a fun shape. So this is my dAche pad. Now, here's what we've got. I have not. I finished the kitty last night on the left-hand side there. That is all in the Pablos. Now today we'll go ahead and we'll color in the right hand side, and I'll just do the eye on this video here today. But with these Pablos, you can see I got some really great texture. I loved the color selection for coloring with animals. The only place I used the odorless mineral spirits was on the eye in the video before. I didn't use it anywhere on the body of the cat, on the fur. I did use this Derwent battery-powered eraser, though, to get some highlights going. I love this thing. I'll put a link to it in the description, definitely, because if you don't have one, these are awesome. They can lift off colored pencil wonderfully. So let's get into the Luminance here. I'll go ahead and open this up. And you can see by the packaging, it is a cardboard box. It is not the iconic tin. The box doesn't lock closed. But I think this, particularly the set of 12, if you were going to put this in a backpack or an art kit, you could easily do that. It says here that they are the highest light fastness, and then that shiny embossed area there says the highest light fastness, 100% light fast 1. That's the highest rating according to the ASTM standard, the D6901. And that is why these pencils are called 6901, because they follow that standard. So on the back here, we see that the Luminance 6901 color pencil combines the highest light fastness with the smoothness of a permanent lead. As a result of over 2 years research, the colors have been formulated from pigments selected for their purity, intensity, and resistance to UV. Conforming to strict ASTM D6901 standards, Luminance 6901 will significantly extend the life of your professional work. And then it talks about the schematics of the pencil here, and you can see the diagram on the right. We've got a 3.8 millimeter lead, smooth and permanent, and again, these are also FSC certified cedar wood, which means it's responsibly sourced, excuse me. It is a round pencil. It does have the light fastness indicator of 1 or 2, according to that ASTM D6901 standard, and it's a very beautiful pencil. On the inside, we find a brochure. And that will give you all of the colors that are available in the Luminance. Now, they've just come out with a 100 set. They used to only have 76, but now they have come out with 100. And this little chart goes over which pencil is included in which set, and it definitely includes their light fastness. So just a quick scan through here, you can see that most of them are light fast 1, and only a few of them are light fast 2. In fact, let's do a quick count of that. All right, going over that tiny print really quickly, I come up with only 22 of their 100 pencils are light fast level 2. And then this explains the light fastness and the science behind it. You can kind of see how it works there, the before and after tests. It's more evident on the pink and the purple and the yellow. And basically what it is telling you is that delta sigma, I believe is what those Greek letters are, that quantifies the difference in color between two sets of specimens before and after exposure to light. It does not say how long they were exposed. That has to do with that D6901 standard, and I'm sure that those are included in that test. So if you wanted to research that further, you certainly could. It does say here that my count might be off just now. It says that we offer a set of 100 colors with 80 colors classified in the best category, which is light fastness 1. So there are only 20 of them that are light fast 2 or 3, but I don't think there were any 3s. I think it was only 2. Yes, it says right here, light fast 1 or 2 are the only levels that these pencils are available in, which is really nice. It is cut from California cedar, and I love that Forest Stewardship Council is part of this process, because open lands and forests are very important to me, and I really like that these are responsibly manufactured. So here's the pencil. They're beautiful. They do have that nice wooden cedar. It's not finished. There's no varnish on it at all, I don't think. It's really nice to hold. And you can see when you're looking at it, you have the Caran logo, you have the amount of light fastness that's there. It's the light fastness 1. And then it also has on there the cap at the end. Here, let's take a look at that. You can see the pencil itself, the luminance is on the right. It's round and it is a little bit bigger than the Pablo. They weigh the same. The inner core is the same diameter, and they do come sharpened just like the Pablos. But I think the key to the Pablo, it wins a plus here for me in that they won't roll off the table. And when you have something this beautiful, you really don't want it to get damaged. But back to what's printed on the pencil. It's in white, which I really like because you can read it. The pencil cap will match the color of the lead. Luminance 6901, that says lemon yellow, and a color number. And then, of course, there's also a barcode on there. These are sold individually. Let's talk about price for just a quick second. I purchased mine on Blick. As you know, we mentioned that in the other video, and I'm not sponsored by Blick. No one's paying me to do this video. I just like shopping for a good retailer that's going to safely mail me something that they specialize in selling art supplies. So I know if I have any questions, that will be great. These retail for $49.95, this set of 12. However, I paid $35.95. I'm in the United States, and so all of these prices that I'm talking about will be in US dollars. That works out to be $2.995 per pencil, so about $3 a pencil if you were to buy these individually. So I'm going to go through and swatch these now real quick, and I will let you know what the contents of these pencils are. Let's move this up to double speed. According to Caran dAche, the Luminance pencils are a wax and oil mix. Now the Pablos are oil, but these are a wax oil mix. So a lot of artists seem to think that these Luminance are 100% wax, but they're not. They do have a little bit of wax in there. And what it does for the laydown when it's mixed with oil is you have, at least, then this part is my opinion, you have this beautifully soft, pigment-rich ability to lay down color on the paper, and it's not going to skip over the tooth too much to leave a lot of white space. Now, when you're using a Prismacolor and you're coloring like this, and I'm using a very light pressure to do this, I went over many, many times. I cut out the left to right layering because it was making the camera shake so much. But I wanted you to see, I think I've got probably, 6 or 7, maybe even 8 layers on some of these. And it was just such a joy. I just want to keep going. I didn't want to stop. And when you have a wax pencil like a Prismacolor, your lead will wear down very quickly. The oil helps the pencil stay sharper longer, and that's definitely true here. I have no idea what percentage wax and what percentage oil these are, but with that blend, you can see there the pencil just really stays sharp. And that's putting down quite a lot of layers. So let's finish up this swatch. For the white, once again, I added a little diagonal square there with some Sharpie so that we can actually see its opacity. And I do have a separate little bit of footage at the end here that I will show you where we're testing the whites on the whites alone. The sets of 12 don't contain quite all of the same colors. We've got the white, orange, and yellow. Those are the same. And then we start to get a little bit different. The Luminance has Anthraquinoid pink, and it also has 3 blues, cobalt, phthalo, and Prussian, as well as a spring green. It also offers this perylene brown, which is kind of like a maroon. There is no umber and no ultramarine. There are 2 blues in the Pablo set, and as well as 2 purples, so you don't have those in the Luminance set. But it really doesn't matter because we're going to be able to mix whatever colors we want. What I do want to do though is let's compare the whites on black paper. I have the perfect little sketchbook to do this comparison. It's a Stillman and Byrne Nova series, and I'll put a link to this in the description as well in case you're interested. It's a little bit heavier weight than cardstock, and it has a fine tooth on it, a little bit like hot press paper, not quite as toothy as that. But it's really nice for colored pencils, so I do like using this little sketchbook when I take my colored pencils on the road. So let's do our testing here between the Pablo and the Luminance, and let's see what we can come up with. First up will be our Pablo, and we will go over this first little square here with a fairly light to medium pressure. I'm going to label it light pressure, but that is with the intention of adding some layers to it, and I'm sorry for the shaky camera. So I'm just kind of drawing a little square here and filling it in, not using very heavy pressure, just going over it rather lightly until I've got good full coverage. And then we'll make another rectangle over here on the right, and we will use hard pressure for that one. So you can see it lays down pretty nicely. The white is really pretty good. I've labeled that light pressure and hard pressure, and now let's go in and do a light to medium pressure on the first rectangle there with the Luminance. And you can see it acts just a little bit differently. In fact, on this particular paper, I like the Pablo a little bit better so far. I'm not seeing a real difference in the opacity. It just seems like that I'm going to be working a little bit more to get the same level of coverage. And I had to lift up the notebook there because I did get some crumbs. And you can really see those crumbs generate here on the hard pressure square. And that did not happen with the Pablos. And again, that's because the Pablos probably are an oil and the Luminance is that wax and oil mix. So there you go. There's our first test. You can tell the whites. If this were the only paper I was using, so far I would lean toward the Pablo. The Luminance I don't think had as much coverage as the Pablo did on this particular test. But as far as opacity goes, they're about equal. Now let's go through with our odorless mineral spirits. And again, this is an Utrecht Nude, N-O-O-D brand. That's just darkened there on that lemon yellow because you can tell the paper will absorb it and it will look a little bit different at the end. But we'll go down the left side of all of these just like we did on the swatch test for the Pablo, and we'll go ahead and test these mineral spirits out and see how things blend. Here we are, all blended out, and you can see that the mineral spirits does work to blend these very nicely. On the white, you really can't tell quite as much, but when I was painting with it, let me show you because that pigment really does move around. I don't know if you can pick that up on camera, but a little bit of that white pigment gets on the end of the paintbrush. So you can see that the odorless mineral spirits really do activate these pencils quite well. Now it's time for a little rainbow test. Here's a little quick review of the Pablo pencils. And let's just take a peek and see if we use some really hard pressure. I'll just use the back of this. I don't want to waste this good Arches paper. But I do like testing on the paper that I'm going to use. I think that makes a difference. And this is super shaky, and I'll let you look at it in real time a little bit because I'm so sorry. Whenever I move the camera left to right, when I move my pencil left to right, it does make the camera really shake. So I'm sorry about that. And here comes the orange. You can just see we have this really vibrant lay down, and I'll show you this blend here, and then I'm going to skip ahead to the end so I don't make anybody green on the gills from watching this go left to right. But I really like the blends that I could get. This really felt effortless, and that's the one thing I can definitely say. I mentioned in the previous video that I've got some pretty significant arthritis in my hands. These pencils were more comfortable. I know you can get pencil grips, but that hexagonal shape, I think, hurt my hands a little bit more than this beautiful smooth round shape. And the pencils are just a little bit bigger, so that helped me out as well. Let me skip to the end of our rainbow here. And we'll go ahead and blend this one with the odorless mineral spirits as well, so you can see how beautifully these colors activate. I'm going to move this one up to double speed, just like we did in the last video, because then you can really see how these just become quite painterly. So let me talk about this for a minute, this idea of using mineral spirits. I really love this way of blending, and it is because I do know how to burnish. I don't enjoy doing that though, because it really does kind of hurt my hands. If you've got arthritis like I do, it can be a little bit aggravating. So this beautiful blending, look at that on the blue there, it's fascinating, with the mineral spirits, you can really get some beautiful painterly blends, really smooth blends, and you don't have to exert a lot of force with your hand. So now here I do have the white down there next to the black, and you can see I'm trying to push it up in there, but we're going to create a beautiful gray. There we go. You can see when you mix that white and the black, you get a beautiful, lovely charcoal gray, and I really like that. Caran dAche does make a colorless blender that works very well for burnishing. They come in like a 2-pack, a blister pack. If you don't have them and would like them, I recommend trying them. They're really nice to use. You just sharpen them in a regular pencil sharpener. But I'm using the white here and wiping it off between each blend just to kind of see what pastel effect we can get, and it really is quite nice. Again, for me personally, this is just really kind of difficult to do, so I prefer the odorless mineral spirits, but I really did like the ability to burnish and blend with this white colored pencil. You can burnish and blend with just about any colored pencil really, but I wanted to use the white so that we could see the effect. So you can really see how beautifully these burnish with that white colored pencil, and you really get some nice pastels lifted out from that. Now let's look at this in real time, and we'll just pan across and we can see the effects of what we've done. Oh my gosh, I think I'm in love. Do you know Pendleton, the blanket weaver? There are woolen mills in Oregon. I am enamored with their bright, vibrant colors, and just look at the difference between the Pablo and the Luminance. Really, you get some amazing richness with these Luminance pencils. Oh my gosh, you guys. Is this test going to just make me stop at Luminance? Ugh, nope. We're going to keep going. We're going to look at all of them. I really do like the way they feel, though. Here's the half a cat that we have done. I finished coloring that one last night on the left here with the Pablos, and you can see we've got some really beautiful tones here. I really liked the gray mixing in with the browns and blacks. It was just very easy to pick the color palette for this little tabby. If you didn't watch the first one, the tabby that I have in mind, since this is just a line drawing, is one cat that we used to have. Her name was Chloe, and she had beautifully intense green eyes. So what I wanted to do today, then we'll go ahead and just do the eye, just like we did on the video beforehand. And we'll go in first with this yellow, I'm actually have the video up. I'm watching it so that I can make sure that I'm doing the same technique that I did last time. I will be 100% honest with you. My very first laydown of color, I thought, oh no, these don't feel right. I don't know. What if I don't like them? What if I don't like them? I think I was just very nervous, and probably had that feeling that some of us always get, where you're using an expensive art supply, a relatively expensive art supply, and you feel a little bit guilty using it. As soon as I got around to this part, to that second layer of yellow, I was fine. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to really enjoy this. And I sure did. So the next color I went in with here was a green. And I have not resharpened these yet. I will eventually, but I didn't need to. The pencils wore down a little bit more than they did on the Pablos. So that's probably, again, because they're that wax oil mix. But that's not a deterrent in any way, shape, or form. I don't have any crumbs showing up, which I'm in love with. The crumbs are my main impetus for doing this whole test, is to try and get away from something that just generates so much crumbs, because they just drive me insane. I feel like you're working along on this what you want to be a beautiful work, and then you have all these crumbs and trying to get rid of them. It really is a challenge without adding marks onto your paper. So you just have to use a very light pressure with a brush, and then try to brush them off your work. So let's see, after the green here, let's just go in and fill that in just a little bit more, and then we'll move on to our next color. And here's where things got a little bit different. I don't have the exact same colors in this set, as you know, so I decided I would go in with the phthalo blue, because it's as visually as close as I could find to that ultramarine that I went in with on the previous drawing. So let's just go ahead and shade some of this blue in here. Our cat Chloe had the most beautiful hazel eyes. They really looked mostly green, but when you looked closely at them, they had so many different colors. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to draw this one, because for this limited set of 12, I'd be able to use quite a few of the colors in this little kitty cat drawing. So I'm just going around with that phthalo blue, filling in just a little bit more. And then we'll move on to our next color, which is going to be cobalt blue. And the cobalt blue in the Luminance set is quite a bit lighter. It's almost just a really light sky blue. It's very beautiful. I can see it being used in lilacs or skies, many, many different things. Just like with watercolor, that's what I really like about a limited palette, because it allows you to have that artistic freedom to mix your colors and shades exactly how you want them. Now I'm using that Pyroline brown, which is kind of a maroon color. It could be purple, it could be maroon, it could be brown, which is great because it's right there on the color wheel, close enough to so many other things that you can mix it, you can tweak it one way or the other just to get it to go exactly how you want it. So on the other eye, this is where I would have used the umber, and here I'm using that Pyroline brown. The next thing I want to put in before I get any further on the iris is the pupil, and I've drawn that highlight in there to help me remember to leave it. However, if you don't and you forget to do it, that Derwent battery-powered eraser, any kind of battery-powered eraser, you can definitely lift that up, or you can go in with a myriad ways to add your highlights back with colored pencil, just like you can with watercolor. Now let's go in and add those orange portions. I really liked the vibrancy that this gave this eye on this side of the cat. On the other side, I think maybe the orange may have gotten lost just a little bit. However, I do know that it's there and I can kind of see it because I know where I put it. But in the end, I kind of think it might have gotten lost a little bit. That was the one thing I was starting to notice at about this point when I'm going over with another glaze of yellow, that these colors really bounce the light back toward you. They truly are luminant. It is a very good name for them, the Luminance line, because I really felt like in comparison to the Pablo, these really looked like they definitely carried the light much better. So let me go on to the next area here. We're going to come back in with more of a little bit of a darker shade here. I'm using the darker green, and in this set they call it grass green. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a good green base now for these. And when I'm coloring this, I'm making sure to keep those radial designs of the iris intact. So I'm not going in and just coloring, making a flat wash of it. I'm just going in and making these radial lines, kind of keeping their individuality, because that's what's going to give us a fairly realistic look. Now, once again, I'm not a realistic artist. I always do things kind of loose and impressionistically. So this one is going to be no exception. You'll notice when it's done that it is definitely an illustration of a cat, which is exactly what I like to do. However, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the beautiful photorealistic works that can be generated from artists who are really much more skilled than I am in colored pencil. Oh my goodness. This is what got me interested in colored pencil. As much as I say I'm not a photorealistic artist, it's the photorealism of colored pencil that has me so intrigued. And I love to draw. So this is just really, I'm having a lot of fun. And to be honest, I'm having more fun with the Luminance than I did with the Pablos. So I don't know, guys. It seems like the scale is tipping a little bit in the direction of Luminance here, but the Pablos were certainly wonderful to use. I feel right now like I'm the luckiest girl in the world because I have access to both of these, and I can really see where there would be a definite need to use both of them. I am thoroughly enjoying the performance of these Luminance on this Hot Press Arches 100% cotton paper. It's a dream. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's just effortless. And the color that is coming down with these blends, the images that are popping back to me and giving me that important feedback as an artist that wants me to keep going, that's where these surpass the Pablos, is in that luminescent feedback. I really can see quite a bit of light bouncing back at me. Whereas with the Pablos, it wasn't quite as exciting to color. About this point on is where I thought, literally, I don't want this to end. I have not had that feeling with coloring in a long time. In fact, maybe ever. Coloring, drawing, same thing. I'm going to use these words interchangeably. So let's talk about that for a minute, though. What if your art is that you're working on coloring books? Would this be necessary to get this Luminance set? I would recommend buying just a few of the pencils to see if it's something you want to do. I don't even think you need to get this set of 12. I think you could just get the primaries. Get a red, yellow, blue, black, and white, and see what you think. whatever set you're using for your coloring book. A lot of coloring book artists are just amazingly talented people, and it's kind of a sector of the art community that is sometimes seen as a little bit less than, and I couldn't disagree more. I think that no matter what art you're doing, it's valid. And if you feel like you want to get the professional pencils to enjoy your coloring books more, then by all means, take a look at these. I would also say to look at the Pablos, though, because it depends on the paper. Every single thing that you do in art can change the outcome of what you have. For instance, paper, as I mentioned before, pressure, the lighting that you're using, how much pressure you're putting down, the paper that you're using. All of these things are going to work together to create a piece that you really enjoy making, or one that you're kind of struggling to make. This combination really is just golden. I mean, it really was just really effortless. Can you see how that orange has mixed with that perylene brown, and it just really shines through into a beautiful brown hazel? That was the level of color that I was unable to achieve with the set of Pablos that I had. Now, I really do like the way that other eye turned out, but this one I'm liking a whole lot more. So I haven't colored the rest of the cat yet. I don't know if the rest of the animal is going to come out this way, but what I can tell you is that I am just having fun, and I'm adding colors in here that I didn't put in the other eye. This light green, I wanted to do a wash of that over all of this, just to kind of give it a light green hue and let the light come through that way. And I was amazed. I'm not pressing very hard at all. I'm just going over it with a very light coat. And I think you can see that yellow is still shining through there, and it's working with that orange and the perylene brown and the blues and the other green that I've got in there and that yellow to really just create this beautiful hazel eye. Again, not that I'm saying that this is, the best cat eye ever, but in fact, if you're a professional colored pencil artist, you might be looking at this and cringing. But that's not my point here. My point is that I'm really enjoying these Luminance pencils. And I think that if you got a set, there's really very little to be unhappy with. If you do decide to invest in some professional art supplies, if you haven't already, don't treat them as something so precious that you'll never use it. I think that a lot of the times we have a tendency to spend an amount of money on something that we think, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. What am I doing? I mean, whenever we spend money, right, like it can become an emotional experience riddled with guilt and fear and uncertainty. But, I think that investing in yourself is something that is priceless. And I know that sounds a little bit corny, but here we are testing what is commonly known as the best of the best pencils, and I am having a wonderful, relaxing experience. In fact, when I'm doing this voiceover, I'm more relaxed than I've ever been after coloring and drawing and creating art, and I have to think that the pencils had something to do with it. It was just such a pleasant experience. Whenever you're working with something that is giving you the kind of feedback that you really want, and you see I'm going on here. I went past the eye that we did last time. I'm just having so much fun, I didn't want to stop. Whenever you're working with something that's giving you this tremendous amount of feedback, it's encouraging. And I felt like with the Pablos, I thought, yeah, okay, this is really nice. And it was more pleasant for me than using Prismacolors. But the feedback that I was getting was probably just about average, and I really didn't even talk about that on that video rather, because on this one I didn't know that I was going to be getting such wonderful response and feedback from this medium. These are just different enough that they really are set apart, and I am looking so forward to testing more, because if it can be this good, I really want to see what else is out there, because now I'm thoroughly intrigued. And obviously I'm getting carried away here with my painting. So let me go ahead and we'll skip to the end and I'll show you the final comparison. Here are the comparison of the two eyes alone. I haven't finished the cat on the right yet, but see on the left you can see there's a lot of green. It's there. But how can I explain it? It's a little more muddy than the one on the right. It could have been the color selection that I have, but I really tried to mimic what I had done before and use very similar colors. I really think the one on the right was a better performer in this case. So now that we have the two eyes done, let's go ahead and finish the cat and see what it looks like in its entirety. Look at this. I can't stop fidgeting with it because I love these pencils so much. Before I show you the full reveal, I've got it all hidden behind a paper towel here. I want to show you this eraser. It's so cool. So you turn it on. It's really quiet. I've got the sound turned down on the video, but it's super quiet. And I'm just cleaning up some smudges here. Some of these smudges are a little bit of colored pencil and some are just graphite pencil, but it picks it right up. And ta-da! Right away, you can see that it looks like an entirely different drawing. And to be fair, I did have to use the odorless mineral spirits on the right-hand side to blend the luminance. And that is because on the left-hand side with the Pablos, I used predominantly colors that occurred in the cat. I used the gray and the umber and the black and a little bit of the pink. And those were the colors that appeared in my cat naturally. So let me just show you, though, what this eraser can do, because it's really kind of cool. You can just go in, let's say you left a little bit that you needed to highlight, and you can just tap it in there as it's rotating. You just hold the button down and it rotates, and you can take out color in little sections. You can even trim this eraser point to however you want it, but I think that is genius. It's so detailed and I love it for colored pencil. So that's something that I always use when I've got my colored pencils, and I wanted to share it with you. So let me talk again about this blending, the odorless mineral spirits. Since I didn't have a brown per se, or a gray or a black, like I said, I had to mix those colors, and there are layers upon layers upon layers on this right half of the kitty cat. And in order to create those areas where you see brown coming through, here's a little bit more of an eraser demo for you. That is layered with orange and blue and perylene and that perylene brown and a little bit of green. And it's just about everything in there is layered to create those dusky shades. The cobalt really helped me bring that out a lot. But that eye, I cannot get over that eye, you guys. Oh my goodness. I am just so thrilled with these pencils and the way they performed. And the ability to blend them with odorless mineral spirits was effortless. Effortless but necessary, and that's because of the subject that I chose. I chose a cat that has a lot of browns and grays in it, so I did need to mix those colors. Okay, so bottom line, if I were stranded on a desert island and I had to pick one of these to have with me, it would be the Luminance. I love the Pablos, I really do, but oh my gosh, those Luminance. Look at the two eyes. That's the main difference that I can tell you here. That eye with the Luminance just is radiant. I mean, I'm hoping it's picking up on your monitor, but those pigments are so much more vibrant than the Pablos. The Pablos are perfectly beautiful to color with. They're quite a pleasure to use, but the Luminance were just that much more delightful. And that is what art should be, is pure delight. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I really am having fun with this great colored pencil experiment. And we've just kicked off the first 2, so we got 2 down, 10 to go. Hopefully our experiments as we continue forward will be just as fun as this one was. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye now.